Okay, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City Council work session and special meeting of Tuesday, March 12th. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Before we have public comment tonight, I would like to ask everyone for a moment of silence for Dave Browse, who passed yesterday. So if everyone could join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, first we will have public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make any public comment? Being kind and respectful and under 3 minutes? No? Is there anyone online? If you would raise your hand, please. Okay, thank you. And next we will have an introduction and the swearing in of our newest police officer, Keaton Waldy. Jason?
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have Keaton Waldy, who is our newest officer. And Keaton comes from a background in the Marine Corps. And then he was with the Clatsop County Sheriff's Office under the Animal Control Division for 7 years. And he's also with Cannon Beach Fire for 11 years.
10.
So a wide range of involvement in the community and in Cannon Beach. So we're very happy to have him. I'm gonna have him start out reading the oath of office, and then the mayor will do the honor of swearing him in. So go ahead and start.
As a criminal justice officer and in the service of the city of Cannon Beach, my fundamental duty is to serve humankind, to safeguard lives and property, to protect all persons against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, to respect the constitutional rights of all people to liberty, equality, and justice. I will keep my private life unsullied as an example to all, maintain courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, or ridicule, develop self-restraint, and be constantly mindful of the welfare of others. Honest in thought and deed in both my personal and official life. I will be exemplary in obeying the laws of the land and the regulations of my department. Whatever I see or hear of a confidential nature or that is confided in me in my official capacity, I will keep ever secret unless revelation is necessary in the performance of my duty. I will never act officiously or commit personal feelings, prejudice, animosities, or friendships to influence my decisions. Without compromise and with relentlessness, I will uphold the laws affecting the duties of my profession courteously and appropriately, without fear or favor, malice or ill will, never employing unnecessary force for violence, and will never accept gratuities. I recognize my position as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as a public trust to be held so long as I am true to the ethics of the criminal justice system. I will constantly strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating myself before God to my chosen profession.
All right.
Thank you. Are you ready? Okay, so please repeat after me. I, Keaton Waldy,
I, Keaton Waldy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
to support the Constitution of the United States
of America
of America,
and the state of Oregon,
state of Oregon,
and I will enforce the laws and ordinances of the city of Cannon Beach, Oregon,
enforce the laws and ordinances of the city of Cannon Beach, Oregon,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
as a police officer
as a police officer
for the city of Cannon Beach.
for the city of Cannon Beach.
Congratulations.
And then we're gonna have his best friend TJ come up and put his badge on him. You guys may know TJ. His father was an officer here in Cannon Beach for
Former
years.
student.
And he's with Seaside Police Department. I think you say that about every person.
Not you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for letting me be a part of that.
Yes.
Jason, is that Okay, so
For Canon Peters at Brooklyn. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
okay, next we will have a public hearing. And the public hearing is for the landscape view of the rejuvenation of the Cannon Beach Elementary School project and Nakus Park. And Bruce, do you want to introduce anything?
I believe that I'm going to do the staff report.
Okay. So this is a hearing to consider revision to the landscape plan for the rejuvenation of the Cannon Beach Elementary School project and Nakus Park. The appeal will be reviewed upon the conditions listed in the adopted findings of fact and conclusion of law for APP 2307 and for compliance with the landscape evaluation criteria set forth in the Cannon Beach Municipal Code 1714.100. During a work session on February 20th, the council reviewed the same revised landscape plan that is before the council tonight for consideration. The presentation and council's discussion of this matter on February 20th was limited to project scheduling as well as fiscal impacts and did not include any consideration of whether the revisions satisfied the landscape design evaluation criteria set forth in Cannon Beach Municipal Code 1744-100. Although it is not relevant, the city will include a copy of the recording of the February 20th work session in the record for this proceeding. If any counselor has concerns about their ability to set aside any considerations for this project that are not related to the question of compliance with the design review criteria on issue for tonight's consideration, now would be the time to raise those concerns. Anyone have any concerns? Okay, does anyone object? So I'm going to open the public hearing. Does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the city council to hear this appeal at this time? Does any counselor believe he or she has a personal bias to declare? Does any counselor believe he or she has a conflict of interest? In addition to the February 20th work session, has any counselor had any ex parte contacts or made a site visit?
Site visit?
Site visit?
I've been there.
It's like, okay. Is there any additional correspondence? Okay. So I'd like the staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. January 2nd, 2024 meeting, the council adopted findings of fact and conclusion of law for APP 23-07. Findings included the following considerations. The applicant shall submit a revised landscaping plan that includes a continuous path connecting the welcoming courtyard, the heritage garden, and the story circle in an obvious loop along the riverbank, celebrating the overall site heritage. The council shall approve these modifications after a public hearing, coupled with notice to owners within 100 feet of the subject property prior to building permit issuance. Number 2, the applicant shall submit a revised landscaping plan showing a simplification of the garden plantings to reflect a more natural arrangement. Council acknowledges that this may require relocating the Thunderbird to allow for the trail to loop the creek on into the story circle area. The council shall approve these modifications after a public hearing coupled with notice to owners within 100 feet of the subject property prior to the building permit issuance.
Okay, thank you. But I'm going to call for public testimony and state the pertinent criteria to be considered by the city council are identified in the staff reports. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards those criteria or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or municipal code which the person testifying believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal based on that issue. In addition, failure of the applicant to raise constitution, constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval will preclude an action for damages in circuit court. Persons who testify shall first receive recognition from the mayor, state their full name and mailing address, and if appearing in a representative capacity, and identify whom they represent. Is there a presentation by the applicant?
Yes, Steve Sokolowski will give the presentation on behalf of the applicant.
No, Dustin.
Dustin, I'm sorry, Dustin. Apologize.
Scared Steve, didn't we? But you could do it, right?
Right.
I saw Dustin kind of relaxed there.
Oh, yeah, it was that moment of relief. Wow.
Good evening, Dustin.
Hi, Steve.
Steve's in the audience cheering you on.
All right, well, thank you, Steve, and good evening, Madam Mayor and council members, and I want to extend my congratulations to Officer Wald as well for his swearing in. So the documents I have to present tonight are the same documents that I presented back in late February. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see. Okay. All right. Can you see that okay?
Yep, we can
Yep.
screen.
Okay. So as mentioned, the task at hand for CETA and for Joyce Jackson, who's also on tonight and will speak to the specifics of the plantings themselves, was twofold. One, to create an obvious path that looped around the trail, back behind that looped around the site, back behind the story circle, and then over to the point of origin in the Southeast Entry Plaza. And also to simplify the landscaping. So what you see up here on the screen right now is the latest plan that was received by the Design Review Board and the starting point for our revision. So this is the old plan, and I'll toggle back and forth between the old and the new. The new plan, and we're trying a little bit of a different graphic here, the same graphic that you saw at the end of February, but this is trying to really get the feel of the landscaping better than just what a black and white AutoCAD construction drawing can convey. So I'll give you the rundown. Starting down here in the Southeast Entry Plaza. The plaza itself, there's not much change to. There is reduction in the amount of sidewalk that went up behind the building here. We thought that there was going to be more use for a door that was adjacent to this lean-to than we currently anticipate. So right now we just plan on having a gravel strip all along that eastern edge of the school without any pavement, and all that can be landscaped. From the Southeast Entry Plaza, you see a change in the ground type from a hardscape here to a mulch or a gravel system just to the north of that. And in between the two, we're showing what looks like a couple of dots. Those are intended to represent two poles, and above the poles would be a horizontal element that would represent a threshold. We also see it as an opportunity to display the Thunderbird and to provide interpretive value on that Thunderbird by having some signage next to it that describes what that Thunderbird means and what it meant to the ancestors of the site. Then moving on north through here, again, I'm going to pull up real quick this same area as represented to the DRB, the plan that we are changing. Excuse me. So before we had a pretty complex system of trails going through a relatively small area. The intent was to create interpretive value along this system for people to really be able to take their time in getting from the Southeast Entry Plaza to the park. With this new concept, the idea is to provide a fairly efficient means to get from the Southeast Entry Plaza back into the Neck-Use Park area. We have along this main path to get back there in a couple of areas created a little spur trail, and those little spur trails are intended to do exactly what the Thunderbird Garden before was doing, which is create moments of pause, moments of rest for people to sit, relax, read the interpretive signage around them that in these areas will likely have to do with the plants they see in front of them. From that area, by the way, all this light green that you see is intended to be unmanicured native grass, as opposed to the manicured non-native grass that you see in Neck-Use Park that's more adept for use for recreation. So very streamlined. This path continues on up to the north and connects to our existing nature trail. This white box right here, and I'm going to shift over to an enlarged plan of this area. That is the relocated basalt monument that's located closer to the ramp over here. So we've taken that basalt monument, put it over here. Now it's at a point of convergence of 3 different trails, or 2 trails and a spur trail. So no matter which way you're coming to or from this site, eventually you're going to be confronted with an opportunity to learn about this site's heritage. Similarly, if I go back to the main plan here, we used to have, this is the Neck-Use Park sign right here. It also is located over here closer to where we're proposing some rock infill at this ramp. So we're having to move that. We're keeping it within the right of way. We want to make sure it stays within the right of way, as that sign is the public's notification that this is a public space and this space belongs to them. So we want to encourage people to come in. The rocks that I was talking about located along this path here. I think I mentioned last time I did witness somebody in a cane at a couple hours before our last meeting trying to maneuver this existing ramped trail, and it was too steep for them. It needs to be shallower. I don't know that how we have it shown right now is that much shallower than how it is, so I would expect a little further revision to this to make sure that we're achieving grades that are more easily maneuvered by people with mobile disabilities. Stepping back real quick, I'm not going to talk too much about the individual plantings, but I do want to point out all of these green trees in here. Those have been changed out to be shore pine for a good feeling of scale of what that could feel like, just taking a stroll from City Hall down to the beach along Gower. And you'll be confronted with street trees that are all planted in a row. That's not what we have. We have little groves that we've created here. But this is kind of, there's a couple of reasons why we chose shore pine here. Number one, they would have been familiar to the ancestors of the site. They're also that perfect scale. They're beautiful too, by the way. I think we can all agree that they're extremely beautiful specimens. But they're a perfect scale between a human and this quite massive structure. And it's massive because it's much larger than any adjacent architecture around it. So we're looking for that right scale, 2 or 3 times the height of a human, to really start to bring that, to make it feel like it's bringing that scale down to more of a human level. As we move on out of our grove of shore pines, we're confronted with more of a meadow-like feel. And again, that's attributed to both our recreational field turf, but also our native grass, non-manicured turf as well. As we move along here, we still have our spur that goes down to the water's edge. This is not more than just replanting some native species around here that are specifically targeted to be estuary species, trying to give anyone who's interested in knowing what that estuary used to feel like, just an idea, just a glimpse of the types of plantings, and hopefully that'll draw in some fauna as well. And then from there, our trail continues much as it does today along that south edge of the estuary. We are proposing a few more benches. We do have an existing bench over here. It's shown a little bit relocated from its existing position a little further west that faces into the Neck-Use playing field area. we're suggesting just having a couple benches along this path where people can sit and look away from the playing field and into the estuary, and bird watch and elk watch and everything else. From there, our main path continues on to a point of divergence where you can either keep right and go out to the estuary into the beach, or take a left to continue on around the story circle and eventually onto the north courtyard. Here is a little bit of a design challenge. How do you connect a point, 2 points along the north courtyard to make it feel like a trail system? So what we've done is we've taken the pavers that we have centrally located in that north plaza there. And we've taken a portion of that pattern and rotated it 90 degrees to connect these 2 points. The sole intent of that is to define that this northern edge of the courtyard is special. It connects point A to point B. Point B being where the path picks up on the far side of the trail and connects back to our point of origin. I skipped over the story circle area a little bit, so let me just double back here. I'll bring up the previous plan. This was a little bit of a new concept for the story circle that was not asked for as part of the plan revisions in our appeal. If we take a look at, let's see, this main plan here, it used to be that the story circle was accessed from the north courtyard along a main trail, and that main trail just kind of entered into that area. What we're proposing now is that our story circle is now more an area to be discovered. It's not along the main path. You have to find it. That goes back to sort of the programming phase and what this area really is intended to be. It's an intimate area meant for telling stories and for having small groups of people for discussion, for small, performing arts. It does have the ability through this type of landscape surrounding it to expand to a larger venue, but at its core purpose, it is that intimate space. We also used to have a heritage playing area for kids located right about here, just off that northeast corner of the north courtyard. And for several reasons, we decided to take that playing area and locate it over here. And to do that, it required shifting our open-sided pavilion a little bit closer to the story circle. Again, playing to that more intimate feel of the story circle. What I really like about this concept is that now, instead of just being a viewing area for the story circle or serving as a bandstand in some cases, now that pavilion can be open on at least 2 sides, and you can bring your kids to an event that you may be there to watch in the story circle. You yourself can be located in this pavilion and turn around and have eyes on your kids. So you can be viewing two sort of performances at once, if you will. And let me see, is there anything else we want to talk about here? Oh, I guess I'll remind City Council, we don't need to, this property line here where the color stops and the grayness starts on the other side, this is still city-owned property. This is not a hard edge. So I would expect that kids playing over here on these very natural structures, driftwood, canoes, either carved out of wood or formed in concrete, and maybe little play structures made to resemble some native structures. I would imagine that they would find their way into some beautiful spruce areas, still within view of family strategically located here in this pavilion. And I think the last thing I'll mention in these revisions is we also wanted to keep in mind ADA accessibility. What we've proposed to do, you'll see a portion of this path here that is gray and a portion that is brown. And the intent is that gray portion would be compacted gravel. It could be some other surface, but for now, given some budget constraints and some other things, we would be proposing compacted gravel, which does have some upkeep to it. But that can be compacted in a way to meet ADA compliance. Then we can get people with with mobility issues to really give them access to some of the key functions of the site, including the story circle, the pavilion overlooking the story circle, as well as overlooking the heritage play area. Give them access all the way up until that point of the existing welcome figure where they can pull off the side of the trail and get a really outstanding view of the estuary and of the beach. I think that pretty much concludes the revisions, and if council likes, I'll ask Joyce to present on the individual plantings and the methodologies behind what we chose.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
All right, Joyce, would you please take it away?
You should be able to unmute, Joyce.
Okay, sorry about that. I lost my mute and video options, so yeah, thanks for switching over. Basically, let me start by saying everything past what we're calling the entryway, thank you, is all native material, and ideally plant material that could grow there quite easily. The actual plantings that are growing now are quite limited. So we did expand a little on what is there now. But what we do have are materials such as Mahonia, which is shown along the edge of the roadway and the sidewalk, just kind of as something to show that this is a different place and a separation. And that's something that may or may not remain depending on how the city feels about maintaining that. It is off the site, it's in the right of way, so we'll have to get some permission for that. If we go back to the entry, the courtyard, we are trying to honor what was two things. Both the original inhabitants are Native Americans who lived here in the past, and the fact that this site was used to educate children in Cannon Beach. So there is a combination of landscape material that is adaptive to the area with native plants. So you will see a few plants here that are not native to the Pacific Northwest, but have been adapted to the area and are surviving quite well. Entering into the site, we kind of have a welcoming row of plant material. Our goal was to limit the amount of material that is within this native area, but yet also maintain what was our intention with the Heritage Garden. So we do have labels to some of the plants that would be growing in the area, and as Dustin said, we've got some areas where you can study and sit and relax. It was pointed out that older people may just get tired and want to have a seat. So that's why we've located benches in this area. Plant material includes the Rosa rugosa. We have a lot of the evergreen huckleberry within here. I mean, I think it's always something for people to sort of stop and nibble on. And also see how beautiful the plants are. We've included some holodiscus, ocean spray, which is an attractive plant. Those are the ones with the HDs. They're sort of a good size a deciduous shrub, along with the Mahonia nervosa, which is the lower Mahonia, sort of more as a ground cover, but it can get a bit sizable. So that, along with the shore pine, which Dustin also discussed. We included some of the sword fern, which are growing on the site. I've seen them in that area to the west. And salal, which is quite happy along the coast. So the trail then extends with some additional plants to provide some separation and make it feel like a transition from the courtyard into the open area of the play field. So there are some larger shore pines, again, some of the evergreen huckleberries, salal, and some of the racemosa. Now the native plant name is going from me. That's what you get when you get older, me and Biden. Anyway, we can follow the trail. The plant material here is sort of to surround how we've maintained the transition from the higher elevations to the lower. And again, another little bit of area to surround where we're going down to the new plant material for the shoreline. And they're all native plants that occasionally grow there. I think the fact that the bank has become much steeper, you only see them in this area where it's flattened out, where you can see the contour lines are farther apart. So in that area, we have a series of native wetland plants. For those who have been on the site, you realize that much of this bank is vegetated. We would like to recommend that they remove the blackberries, and then where the area becomes too blank, we want to maintain that bank. So we're suggesting that the native willow be planted, not necessarily as big plants, but as cuttings that can go in between the rocks so that we're not disturbing the bank at all. It's important to maintain that. So if we remove too many blackberries, then there's not much to restore, to maintain and hold the bank. We will keep those there. The larger trees that you're seeing are actually existing spruce that were planted by the school children. So we wanted to maintain those as a reminder that this was a school site and children had a role in planting the site. So as we go along the bank, much of what was there still is existing. On one side, we have a bit of the native planting and the material in the play area is one that is tolerant of the salt, but also can be maintained as more of a manicured lawn. And then moving along, we go to the existing grove of spruce. And again, that is just has the planting of the ground cover, and we would suggest clearing out some of the invasive material that's growing in that area. And again, on this little separation between our story circle area and the play field, we've made just an ever so slight mounding of soil material and planted a few of the native materials as shrubs. We don't want to make a barrier, but we did want to have something that signifies that there is a change of space and a change of place. And again, it's the same types of materials that we've been using. Again, the VOs are all symbolic of the evergreen huckleberries. And again, we have some Mahonia to the north, and again, more huckleberries. And then the story circle again just has mostly the ground cover, the native ground cover. We've placed driftwood logs in for seating, but left some open grass space so people can bring a blanket or a folding chair or something to sit in that area, with a few shrubs on the very north, just to kind of provide a bit of a separation between the pathway and the story circle. And then traveling down the path towards the play area, the pathway goes into the actual path that exists there now. And I'm hoping that this area can be cleaned out of blackberries, although it's off our site, but it is city property. So that as Dustin mentioned, that this is an extension of the play area where they can go into existing woods and play in that area. It was something we were trying to achieve on the other side, but in this case, we actually have the woods. We don't have to plant them. So it's a plus, I think. And we have provided a very dense edging between the roadway and the play area. It includes, again, the huckleberries, and on the other side, away from where the children would be, the Mahonia. Something you don't really want to walk through because of the pokey leaves, with a couple of the larger shrubs. And then again, it's just basically existing material to the south and behind the food area, with an existing grove of spruce to remain for as long as possible, hopefully forever, depending on what happens with the food bank. And that sort of summarizes basically the plant material and what we were trying to do with it. So anybody has a question, feel free to let me know. Be happy to answer it.
Any questions? No questions from here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So Dustin, does that conclude your presentation?
It does, yes, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Is it at this time that we make a motion, or is it?
No, we're still in the public hearing. Okay. So are there any presentations by proponents? Jim?
And Siebert Warman, PO Box 778. I wanted to say thank you. I think this design is simpler. I would even be happy with it even simpler, but I think it definitely is an improvement. And I think the elements may also help us with simplifying it in the future. So we'll just have to see. I'm grateful. I think we're not cutting down any more trees. I know the cherry trees, I think, as I understand it, are going to be coming down. I'm sad about that, but I think I get it, why. And so I wanted to also say a big thank you for the shore pines being planted. I think those will be beautiful, and I think that they'll do well there. So thank you for that. As far as the Southeast Plaza, also thank you very much. I think it is better. I like it that there's less hard space, I guess we call that. And I would even ask for more greenery there. Hardscape, I guess it's called. And I'd like to ask for more greenery there if at all possible. I just think that is more welcoming to everyone, and I like the natural organic look that would be there with the welcome ornament. So any little bit more greenery there rather than the pavers and the bricks would be very appreciated. One special thing I wanted to bring up is on the riparian area by the creek there, right next to the bridge, there is a large laurel. And I'm just wanting to ask for your consideration, Joyce, if you could leave that laurel, if possible. So that's a little special request. I've saved it like 10 years ago, one time, and I'm hoping to save it again. So thank you again for all the improvements.
Thank you, Jan.
Thanks, Jan.
Are there any proponents online? You raise your hand. Okay, are there presentations by opponents? Anyone online? Okay, would the applicant like to provide any rebuttal to the testimony in opposition? Since there wasn't any, you better not have any. Is there a staff response?
No, ma'am.
Does the council have any further questions for any of the participants in this proceeding?
I do have one. I kind of I'm interested in Jan's suggestion for maybe some more greenery around the Southeast Plaza. Is there a reason why there isn't more there?
I can start with that. We had always considered the Southeast Plaza to be a space that activated the NECU site. So when people drive by it, when people walk by it, they're seeing this people congregating here, waiting for friends to come out or waiting for friends to arrive so that they go in together. Do I think that that can be accommodated and still show a little more greenery? I do. I think there is opportunity there.
It would be nice. It does look pretty bare there. And I understand that somewhat of the reason for it, but this is Cannon Beach and we have greenery all over. So it kind of might be nice to have a little more greenery there in that corner of that area. The other question I have is where the trail meets the hardscape and the back there. You've got I don't have a diagram to show you, but where it meets the hardscape, is it all at grade or is there any lift to it? Yeah, where it goes back there, where you've taken the pavers from the plaza area to the edge of on the other side, on the back of the school there, on the north end there.
Okay.
Yeah, right there, where the path meets that hardscape. Is it all at grade? Does it blend in, or is there a step up to the hardscape?
Good question. The intent there would be that it would all be at grade at the same level.
Okay.
Now, given the materials that we're working with leading up to the north courtyard,
Mhm.
that would be a condition that needs to be maintained every once in a while to make sure it stays at grade.
And I get another question I have too is all of those paver blocks, are they, could they be tripped on? I mean, we have paver blocks in some areas of Cannon Beach where I have to be pretty careful to make sure that my shoe doesn't get into the paver and trip you. How easy is it to trip on those?
With the systems that we use today for creating that critical sub-base layer before you put your leveling sand on and then the pavers themselves, I'm talking about geotextile fabric. I'm talking about layering different sizes of subgrade along with the minus material that locks all that into place. When it gets compacted down, it's nearly as hard as concrete. At least it feels that way when you're walking on it. And then once the pavers are in place on top of all that and the geotextile fabric, there's nothing in this climate in your climate, I should say, to cause those to really move. Here on the other side of the coastals, we have to worry a little bit more about freeze thaw. But out where you're at, if you've got a good strong sub base, and you create that base and immediately put your pavers into place, you should see those move very, very little over decades.
So it'll be a pretty smooth base for people to walk on.
And that's the intent, absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm just curious, what about Jan's Laurel?
Oh, yeah.
So, I was not following entirely where that Laurel currently exists, and maybe Joyce is more familiar with where that is.
Am I on?
Yeah, we can.
We can hear you.
I don't have a problem keeping the laurel. I mean, I was trying to keep everything native in that area. I know there's also a tree that we are keeping up in that same corner. We want to go to the north, to the right and up. The other way, other side.
Over by the bridge.
More. It's very close to the bridge.
Okay.
Yeah. And in that area, there is an existing laurel. You know, if that's something that's of concern, we can keep it because it is mature and it's probably holding a lot of soil in place. So it wouldn't hurt to keep it, other than the fact that it is not native and it's kind of broken our native rules, so to speak. But you know, we're very close to, could possibly even be in the right of way.
It's native now, it's lived here.
Yeah.
For it's years.
Very true, very true. It's very well adapted. We could call it one of the adapted plants in the area. And if you'd like, I can answer a little bit about the questions in the courtyard. And if we can go back to that. We have a fair amount of ground cover adjacent to the building. And the ground cover that is south of the existing tree is all a very low ground cover. And that's because we were trying to make a view corridor into where we are planning to have murals. So if we could put some other maybe very low shrubs in there that would be green, but what is there is now a green ground cover that is not very high. It's beach strawberry. And then we could add additional plant material where we have ground cover to the north of that existing tree. There's a fair amount. A lot of what you're seeing is a response to concern for too many plants. So we can add more in that area because it is not where the mural is going to be located. So I don't know if that would satisfy what you're concerned with, or if maybe you're looking for some of the concrete to go away. If we did that anywhere, I think a good place would be just to the east of where the pull-off is.
Yeah.
In that little corner right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might help a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we're showing trees in there, but they're in little blocks. So that area could be converted into something green. Low, because, you know, we have to maintain visibility at that intersection. So it would be a low.
Yeah, it'd have to be low.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work.
I'm not sure if we'd be able to add an additional tree. You know, sort of closer to the intersection. We'd have to go through and investigate whether that's going to be a problem with the view at the intersection, the turning vision triangle issue.
Yeah, that might be worth looking into.
I mean, that's something we could incorporate into the construction documents.
Yeah, okay, good.
Other questions? Do you foresee any issues with moving the basalt fixture? Dustin?
What kind of issues are you thinking, Mayor?
The existing one, the one that's there by the sidewalk, you're moving it?
Yeah, we're proposing to move it. In terms of like physically being able to move it, no issues
Right.
there. Tribal issues, they actually prefer it located in a spot where people are sort of forced to have that opportunity to learn about the site. So they were very
So
for.
have you talked to the tribe about
Oh yeah.
moving it?
Yeah, we had
Okay, perfect.
two or three design charts with them to come up with this current scheme, and that was part of
Okay,
it.
okay. And then physically, you think it can be moved easily?
We've got
Quite a-
Trevor. We've got Trevor. That guy can move in.
Yeah, put Trevor on it, just roll it
Okay, just
along.
make sure you've got that covered. And then how big is the open air? What are the dimensions of the open air pavilion?
Currently we're showing it at 12 feet by 24 feet.
Okay,
In the previous scheme that the DRB had seen, it was quite a bit larger. It was on the order
that's
of
what I thought.
18 by 36, something like that. But at that point, when we were revising it just a few weeks ago, we had an idea of where the budget was trending, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't, to the best of our ability, showing something that wasn't going to be feasible. So we downsized it, and we still think that at the size of 12 feet by 24 feet, it can very much perform the function it needs to perform for this space.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to close the public
I
hearing.
have one question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The ground around the that area, right, that you're talking about right now, what do you recall it? Is that raised or is it going to be level with the circle?
The idea actually is that there's a slight step up into the circle not from our ADA entrance, but from all other entrances. So then the idea would be that it's a little bit below the story circle, just outside of this sort of line.
Because I was thinking if that ground was raised a little bit, then it'd make it kind of an amphitheater feeling and people could sit there and see what was going on in the circle. But if it's lower than the circle, how is visibility going to be for people sitting there?
And when I say raised, it's literally a step or a half a step. So there really shouldn't be, it's not going to be a traditional amphitheater in the sense that the surroundings are raised up all around it. This concept of stepping up and into the story circle is more of a tribal concept that follows some existing case studies in Washington that the tribe felt strongly about trying to keep.
But the visibility of people sitting around that circle that's not, that's in the ground, on the grass area, that's going to be okay for them to see what's going on in the circle?
Absolutely. The story circle is still, small enough. And the height differential that we're talking about is so low that it should have a negligible effect on that. In fact, if the entertainer, if you will, is sitting in the right spot relative to their audience within the story circle, you could argue they have a better vantage.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we finished? So I'm going to close the public hearing and move to consideration.
I think it's great. I really like it. I like the improvements, the changes. I think they really, work. And I'm happy that the tribes were part of the decision. That means a lot.
Yep.
And that they seem to be in favor of this new design. So,
Yeah, I agree with you.
So for draft a motion, is there something in particular that there wasn't one presented in the staff report, but we've made
In our script.
is there?
Second page, there you go.
Going to move to approve the landscape plan for the rejuvenation of the Cannon Beach Elementary School project in Nicas Park with the noted changes that we've made.
This evening.
Yeah, and so that's the part that I'm finding it a little bit difficult. I mean, we've talked about maybe some extra greenery and the laurel tree, that sort of thing.
We can put that in the minutes,
Okay,
that those things were discussed.
all right.
So the alder tree, additional greenery, anything else?
laurel tree.
I mean, laurel tree, what did I say?
Alder.
Oh, gee, sorry.
So here's what I have for a motion. Move to approve the landscape plan for the rejuvenation of the Cannon Beach Elementary School in Yakuza Park with the noted changes made this evening with the extra greenery and saving the laurel tree.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Kerr,
Yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Dustin and Joyce and Steve. You did a great job.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thanks,
Have a good evening.
thanks for the revisions.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we have consideration of minutes of our February marathon of meetings.
So there is an error. You'll notice in the minutes, there's 2 February 20th and one of them should be a February 28th. And so I
Just on the dates.
Yeah, just a date.
Okay, so should I start?
Sure.
Okay, so, for February 6th, page 4 of 6. Second paragraph. Do you think it is the DRB job to protect property values? But that was the whole issue, not just values, but property values. Then on, what's the date here? February 7th, page 2. Fourth paragraph. What's the $3 signs?
Oh, in the your TSP plan, it had $3 signs. So it was indicating
Oh.
cost.
Right. Okay, I just was wondering, I thought. Wow. I had no-
$3.
Yeah, I had no idea what that, I could not remember that there was that it refers to, I don't know, it sounds like. Doesn't make any sense, but that's okay. And then on the special meeting work session, page 6, on the date of February 13th, page 6. Very bottom, talking about like a cap at 200, talking about the STRs. Adding it really resonates how STRs, which would be plural, do not help with the feeling of community and deteriorate a sense of place. Instead of STR does not help. STRs plural do not help. And then, I have one more. Oh, no, I don't have one. That's it. They're just little nitpicky things, but
Hey, anybody else have any? No? Anyone like to make a motion?
Yes, move to approve the minutes of February sixth, seventh, 13th, 20th, 28th, and 29th with the noted changes by Counselor Kerr.
Second,
Second.
okay. Roll call?
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Kerr,
yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to close the special meeting and open up the work session. And we have one item on the work session discussion, and that's the annual review of the STCs as recommended by adopted methodology. Karen?
Thank you. Should look closely. This may be the only time you see me in a dress.
Go back and walk back.
No, no fashion shows.
Let's see, what's the occasion? Just,
I thought I'd just throw you off.
okay.
Want me to, you good?
Yes.
Get up?
Yes, please.
Per municipal code 3.16.040, the city manager shall report to the city council annually with respect to the inflationary calculation. Such calculations will be based upon changes in the engineering news records construction index, ENR index. At the February 7th, 2023 meeting, City Council adopted Resolution 22-08 for the purpose of adopting a new system development charge methodology and establishing new rates for water, wastewater, storm, and parks. In compliance with the Oregon statutes, the current methodology recommends that the city use the engineering news record construction cost index, CCI 20-CD average as the basis for adjusting STCs annually. The percentage increase of the index from last update on March 12th, 2023 to January of 2024 is 1.012%, which represents a $107 total increase over last year. Should the city council determine upon this annual review that the city increase STCs as recommended by the adopted methodology, staff will bring a resolution to the next meeting for council's adoption per Cannon Beach Muni Code, section 3.16.040 and 3.16050 and ORS chapter 223, which provide that the council shall by resolution establish and modify SDC's methodologies and rates.
I thought that the city could just do it without bringing it to us if it was just the inflationary rate. Is that not correct?
Per our code, we're to bring it to each year for
Okay.
consideration, and then of course you can make any changes that you want.
Oh, okay. I just thought in the. Okay.
We actually put it so that rates are by resolution now, so we would have to still bring a resolution.
Okay, all right.
So that way we have.
I just thought it could be done administrative, or it can be done administratively, but we've decided not to.
Well, yeah, because we started doing fees by resolution,
Okay,
and so we
All right.
will have the new resolution.
that makes sense.
And I just wanted to remind council, because I know when Doug was here and we did the presentation last year to you guys, it was a lot of data because we gave you several different models to look at. And I felt like we kind of got strayed from the real SDCs or for new construction only.
Right.
So if you see the attachment that I put in the staff report and see what we've done, I think from 2019, I put in there. It's not like we're raking in a lot of money off of this stuff because it's specifically for new construction. But because we're concerned about the amount of construction that's happening here, this is one of the ways that we can address some of that pace of which it's happening is to make sure the appropriate.
And then I noticed we got a letter.
I'm sorry.
We received a letter about not about the parks, SDCs. Who is that letter from? It had no.
Didn't have a-
Oh, Randy,
Yeah.
apologies, I thought his name was at the bottom, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Missed that, it was Randy.
Submitted by Randy Neal.
Oh, okay. But I didn't see how, since the NACUS is for the use of people who live here already and people who will live here in the future, not just for tourists. It's partially for tourists, but not just for tourists. It's also for people who live here. So I didn't see how that would make any sense to take the parks portion out.
I'll be honest with you, I agree with you, and because I'm not an expert on this, I learned a lot going through this for the first time with FCS. So I sent that to Doug and asked him to give me kind of an opinion of this because I wasn't sure how to address that for you tonight. And so I really felt like it was good for me to just go back to the expert. They do this every day of their lives. And I wanted to see kind of his interpretation of Randy's input there. I can kind of see it both ways, but again, I'm not strong enough on SDCs and what the Oregon laws are to really be able to answer that for you. So I asked Doug to interpret it, and I'd like to be able to follow up and give you that information. I'm not sure it has a lot of bearing on your decision tonight, but again, you're going to have an opportunity to review this. And should Doug come back and say, yeah, there's some merit to this you might want to look at, then I'd let you know immediately.
Okay.
And you still could make an adjustment.
Okay, great, thanks.
Bruce, did you want to add anything to that? Okay. Any other questions relative to that? I wish Randy had given me this enough time. I could have got with Doug and then brought you some
Right.
information where you would have had a little bit more information.
Right.
Randy gave a lot of good input last year when we did the SDC evaluation. Some of it was similar to this, and Doug kind of addressed it. So I wanted to make sure that if it was just kind of a repeat of that, or if there was a dynamic in this that Doug felt impacted the decision you'd be.
And he would know the legality of,
Mhm.
yeah, that's all I'm worried about.
We can bring the information to the April meeting.
Yeah, we can. It's up to you. You don't have to make your decision tonight. I can bring it to the next meeting and then you can look at it at that time.
Could you send Randy just a little note saying that you have done that you forwarded his information to the consultant and
Yeah,
just let him know that we're looking at it?
okay.
Is he on the line?
I didn't invite him tonight because I just saw this evening. And so I just let him know that as soon as he could review it and give me some feedback, I'd really appreciate it.
Right.
That's probably a really good idea
Okay,
to do that.
yeah, absolutely.
From the expert first, that won't slow us down with, if we have anything built, right?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to wait until next month and look at it again once Doug's weighed in on it. You don't have to make a decision tonight.
But we can decide on the regular inflationary raise in the SDCs tonight.
You can.
Well, it's
The work session.
the work session.
I mean, we can discuss that. and
Right,
then
oh,
have it-
great, yeah,
I'm gonna have it brought back sooner. I don't want to keep pushing this off,
right.
month after month.
Okay, so I think we're ready to discuss.
Well, yeah, I think we should raise the SDCs by the inflationary index.
Oh, okay, I thought you were gonna go way off
On the parks thing?
no,
Oh,
just raising it more than that.
oh, well, that hasn't been suggested,
Right.
and if that was a suggestion, I would probably agree with it. But it hasn't been made as a suggestion. I haven't heard anything from staff asking for that.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
No, I'm comfortable with the proposed,
Okay,
it's like Karen said, it's tied to new construction only.
Right.
I assume the two that's listed for 2024, that's just to date.
Correct.
I don't have any comment on that.
So we're gonna wait until next month to just get the opinion from Doug. And then do we want to have
Why do we have to wait all the way till next month? I mean, don't we have another meeting this month?
No, we probably have lots of meetings this month.
I mean, can it just be tacked on? It's like a 10-minute deal.
it depends on if he's able to, well, I mean, we have a meeting March 19th.
We do. That is a pretty dedicated meeting.
Mhm.
Oh, right, that is.
Right.
And then after that, we have the code rewrite meeting. So we can do this on April 2nd with the resolution, and that gives Doug enough time to get you all the
Okay.
information and us to prepare the actual resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That work? Yep. Sounds good.
It's on the list, April 2nd.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. You're welcome.
Thanks, Karen.
You,
Okay, so next we have good of the order.
Well, I wanted to, I noticed it was interesting in the minutes twice. I asked about Mr. Sellers and what was going on. And was told that we'd find out that they'd get back to us, and I still don't know what's going on with Mr. Sellers. He's the tree.
I know he's,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And we'll follow up again. That's become more complicated than what it appeared.
How so?
At some point, the neighbor hired someone to take down the tree. And
The guy who built the new construction?
yeah,
Okay.
We had a letter about it, didn't we? I mean,
I
didn't
think-
you send us?
and Mr. Sellers didn't want anything to do with that. So there was an offer to solve the problem. Mr. Sellers rejected it. And also, we're not sure what role the city has in that. If it's not just it's a neighborhood, it's a dispute between neighbors.
Right, but the problem was created by the guy who built the house. In other words, he created a problem and then tried to fix it. And I could see how, I mean, well, yeah, I can see, I mean, I guess what I'm curious is about, I don't think that situation should have been created to begin with, but maybe, you know, in other words, if someone had been watching out, you know, when the first complaint was made, if, you know, the building inspector had come forward and said, well, this is a problem, this tree is going to be chopped, basically its roots are going to be chopped in half. And that was, you know, before the problem happened.
Mhm.
When the house wasn't built where originally it was supposed to be built, I don't know why that happened. That someone can just change their plan without anybody knowing.
No, they can't do that. So I'll find out about that.
Okay.
Anything else, Lisa?
No.
Anybody else?
I just want to stay on track here. Our next meeting is on the 19th,
Right.
correct?
Next
Executive session.
executive session at 4:30 and then a meeting at 6,
And that's on the 19th.
the 19th.
Okay, I had the executive session is this Thursday. On my
I
calendar.
guess, I think Ashley needs some information by tomorrow. Back about the city manager review.
Oh, okay. Oh, by tomorrow.
What, you
Okay.
mean just the response to the,
Yes,
Okay.
if you have any changes.
okay.
Okay. That's done.
Draft it up.
And then, Nancy, do you have anything? Okay, I just wanted to let you, all know that, I met with Ashley and we're working on, a code of conduct that our committees, commissions and city council will be, I'll be presenting that to everyone to just kind of, make sure that what we do, reflects a good value in Cannon Beach. And so we'll get that to you one of these days soon. Wanted to let you know that Senator Wyden will be in Astoria at 1 o'clock on Sunday at Astoria High School for a town hall meeting. If anybody wants to attend that. And then on Saturday, March 16th, we have our regular trail cleaning event.
We have coffee with the counselors
And
on
coffee,
Monday.
I just was gonna say, and then
Coffee with the counselors on Monday at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
The 16th is a Saturday.
Saturday will be,
Yeah, we'll be at that.
Yeah.
All day indoors. Can I ask you a question about the code of conduct? I'm curious about it. Is it for conduct during a meeting or while carrying on your duties as a commissioner? Or is it a code of conduct of how you should behave when you're not carrying on your duties and not acting in your role as a commissioner?
the majority of it will be when you're at a meeting or acting in behalf, but there will be a little bit about how you act outside of it.
Will there be any teeth in it?
You know, what, I don't think we've gotten that far in the discussion.
You know, the code of conduct, but if there's no, I mean, if there's some kind of conversation about violation or something, I don't know how
Yeah.
strong it can be.
Right, we're still in that.
Right. I mean, if it happens at a meeting, then you have a record
Right,
that's been created,
right.
you know. But if someone behaves poorly outside of a meeting, then you have mostly hearsay.
Right. Well, and you know, from working with Ashley, that whatever we adopt will take care of that
Yeah.
matter. Yeah. So, I mean, it will be a discussion
Okay.
when we get it ready.
We had a discussion. Are we going to carry on through with what we had discussed?
In having a meeting with, as a council, having a meeting with the people involved in the sticker incident.
Ashley's suggestion for how to handle that is that myself and our council president meet individually with each of them. And I haven't talked to you
No, you
about
haven't.
that yet,
Okay.
Yeah. but I will.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, anything else, Bruce? Anything for good order?
I forwarded to you, Lisa and Gary, there's the regional task force housing. There's a meeting on the 27th at Bob Chisholm.
Did you forward it to me?
I
well, okay,
I
great.
Forward it to me?
so
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay, I will do that.
And is it
1:30 to
30.
3:30.
Okay,
And
great.
it's a small room with a lot of people in it sometimes. So if you don't feel comfortable in that situation, they have a good Zoom availability
Good
as
point.
well.
Yes. Okay, nothing else? Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.